Okay, well, hey, we're getting ready to come up onto your midterm. I wanted to kind of shoot out a video for you so you can kind of see some of the concepts that we've been talking about and some of the things that we've been reading about and learning about, and I wanted to explain some things to you. I'm not going to cover every midterm test question, but the things that we're going to cover in this video will directly relate to your midterm. So I would highly recommend that you watch this. You may even want to watch it while you're taking your midterm to kind of have some explanations. The first thing I want to talk to you about is goal setting. Yeah, you know, the book talks about setting priorities and how important that is. I mean, I cannot stress that enough to you as a leader. Let me show you some of the things that I've used in my department for goal setting. The first thing I'm going to show you is this. Let me turn the camera around so you can see it. So we had a goal. We were doing a fundraiser, and we wanted to raise around $40,000, and so we needed to sell 400 tickets to raise that amount. So each officer had a responsibility of selling tickets for a police conference, and this is how we measured our goals. You know, we start filling out the red area for every 10, 25, 30 tickets we sell, and we can measure as a department. We can see how we're going with that. So that was a financial goal. But I've also set some other goals. So this is a good example of a training goal that we set for our officers. So we said to our police officers, we want every police officer to be a master criminal investigator or a master evidence technician by 2014. Here are the list of courses you have to take. And as police officers complete these courses, they start filling in the dates. And the whole department can sit back and say, okay, those are things that we're going to get done. I used these boards because those goals were priorities for us. Now, there's another type of goal that you can have, or another type of thing that you need to get done. And that is a I'm going to say it wrong. I'm sorry. Let me read it. Posteriorities. And that is something that not that big of a deal. I don't need to make a chart for something like that. It's something that I want to get done and that should get done, but if it doesn't get done, it's not going to have that big of an effect on my life. It's not going to drastically change things for me, okay? It's just something that needs to get done. I like to get done. Good example of this, sending a thank you card to a local business for assisting, for donating $10 to the police department. Should we send it? Absolutely. Do we need to send it? Okay. If we don't send it, is it going to have a dramatic effect on us? Probably not. They're probably going to donate $10 next year as well. So that's not a priority, okay? That's below that priority level. And so when you see a question like, you know, does a posteriorities give you, you know, great benefit and that kind of thing? It doesn't really. It's not really that big of a thing. So when I'm setting these goals, let me tell you how important these goals are. I have set personal goals in my life. I think it's important for every person to set personal goals. And you really need to lay out that plan on where you want to be. When I was a young police officer, I laid out the plan. I became a police officer at the age of 18, and I laid out a plan. I want to be a sergeant by this date. I want to be a detective by this date. I want to be a sergeant by this date. I want to be a police chief by the time I was 32. That was my plan. You know, I wanted to be a detective by 25, a sergeant by 28, and a chief by 32, and that's how I was going to work it out. And then I had to lay out how I was going to get there, what courses I needed to take to get there, what degrees I needed to take to get there. And so I laid that out, and I achieved that goal. In fact, I achieved that goal earlier than my 32nd birthday. And that's because I had something to work towards. Now, there's a couple different ways to keep track of that. One is tickler file, which is basically it's like almost like a trickle file. Is where we have a whole bunch of these files, and they're divided by dates, and you basically have hundreds of files, and you have one for the year, and then one for the month for each month of the year, and then 30 within each month of the year for each day. And you can kind of lay out, you know, this is what I need to get done this day, this is what I need to get done that day, and it allows you to get to this bigger goal by doing small things and working up to that bigger goal. Not a bad idea, but you know, for me, I'm not going to have 200 file folders sitting around the house, okay? That's not something I'm going to do. I'm going to do something more like a smart file system where I can say here's my specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and traceable goals. And then I keep track of those things and I see how I can achieve those things. So goal setting in leadership, very important. You've got to set those goals for your agencies. And sometimes it's okay for your agency to see that you didn't accomplish it. That's okay. We set a goal to be accredited by the first of this year. We're still not there yet. Why? Because we just keep hitting stumbling blocks. But officers are seeing that slow progress and seeing us work towards that. So if you only set goals that you can always obtain, those really aren't goals. Those are just things that you need to get done. Goals are something you need to work towards that you may not be able to obtain. Then we go into like some different federal agencies that we're going to talk about. NCIC, very important agency, National Crime Information Center, ran by the FBI, as is the UCR, Uniform Crime Report. So these are very important agencies that we use. NCIC, we can run people through the database to see if they are wanted. We find lost people that way, or missing people. You can even enter in dental records in NCIC once you have somebody missing for so long. So very important database for us to see missing people, stolen vehicles, that kind of thing. Ran by the FBI. Everybody uses it. I don't know of an agency that doesn't use NCIC. Very important thing for us to use. Now UCR, Uniform Crime Report. That's a little different. Not everyone uses it. It's not a requirement. It's not a regulated system. It is more of a voluntary system that you can use. Now, they put some benefits to using it, which is if you report in the UCR, then you have grant money open up and available to you. So there is some benefit to reporting with the UCR. And so basically what you're doing is you're reporting these crimes, and each crime has some definitions. So maybe it would be murder, and the definition of murder. Aggravated assault, and here's the definition of aggravated assault. And then you report those statistics to the FBI, in the Uniform Crime Report Division, and they handle reporting that nationwide, and then a report comes out and shows where your city is. Now here's the problem: a lot of chiefs will actually, I don't want to say falsify those reports, but they will attempt to make themselves look better. Okay. And so in doing that, they will say, okay, well, yeah, maybe these things were aggravated assaults, but here's how we as an agency are going to classify aggravated assaults, and that will reduce their number of aggravated assaults. So that's a little tough. Another issue with Uniform Crime Report that has nothing to do with chiefs, but does have to do with society in general, is we are seeing a decline, right, in murders. Everybody's like, oh, look, murder rate's going down. We're doing so much better at law enforcement. That I don't believe that's the case. I believe that we are doing so much better at saving lives. Our police officers are trained in first aid CPR. We have EMTs right around every corner. They have new technology and new ability to save lives, and I think that's what we're doing. I think that we are saving lives that traditionally would have been lost in the past. I read one study that says if gunshot wounds would be treated in the same manner as they were in 1970, then our murder rate would increase by 300%. That would have 3 times the murder rate that we do now. Okay, so that's something to think about. That we're saying, oh, crime's going down, murder's going down. Maybe that's not necessarily the case. Maybe just the way we treat it. Same way with a felonious assault or an aggravated assault. When I first became a police officer in the 90s, if you hit somebody with any form of weapon, that was a felonious assault, because they're going to have to go to the hospital, have all this kinds of treatment, all these other things. Now, with technology, having a broken bone isn't that big of a deal. We can put a cast on it, we can do all these other things, So maybe the reporting's changed a little bit in that area. So that's something to think about with the UCR and statistics as you see them reported. Vicarious liability is a very important thing to think about. Our agency is a private police department, and so we have to be very careful about the mutual aid agreements that we enter into with other agencies, because we have vicarious liability. Because we associate with them, because we are a party in this action, we then are held liable as well. So if we go out and assist the city police department in an arrest, and that arrest turns out to be a wrongful arrest. The officer was using incorrect information or made up the information. Then we can have vicarious liability on ourselves because we assist in that. So basically, vicarious liability is when we associate ourselves with something or with a person. We can also be held accountable for their actions. I did want to talk to you about Parkinson's law. I think this is the last thing that we'll talk about. I think this is a very important thing. Basically, what that law is saying is we will fill up our day with the amount of work that we are given. So if we are a police officer that only handles 2 reports a day, then we will fill up our work day with those 2 reports. We'll naturally train ourselves to handle the workload of 2 reports a day. And we see this a lot when we see small town police officers who've been there for a long time pushed into bigger cities, because they go from 2 reports a day to 20 reports a day. And something they would do a 2-page report on, maybe a minor theft or an argument, it is something that in a bigger city they would only do 1 paragraph, if any, report at all. And so we see that they fill their day and they get used to this 2 report a day lifestyle, and they move into a 20 report a day, and they can't get used to it because that's not how they used to fill their day. And so this is really about filling our day, and that we're going to expand our work to fill that time. And so it also goes back to, as a police chief, your responsibility, or as administrator or supervisor, to ensure that officers are using their time wisely, and that sometimes we give them too little work to fill their day with, and that we actually, as a supervisor, need to give them more work and ensure that the things that we are giving them will fill their day, and that they're not being stagnant, and that they're using their time wisely. Listen, we're in this world of budget cuts. We are in this world where we have to become efficient in our work. And in order to do that, we have to use our time wisely. And it is our responsibility as supervisors to ensure that our officers are doing that. So I hope this helps you with your midterm. Like I said, I didn't cover every little thing that's in the midterm, but I covered a general area of what was in the midterm. And hopefully it helps you to take the test. Good luck. Make sure you email me if you have any questions. We'll talk to you soon.